Hello Orchid friends, how are you? Welcome back to my channel. If this is your first time watching my video, my channel is all about orchids. From what orchids I have, how I grow them, my thoughts on certain orchid topics, to what orchids in my collection are blooming, etc. So if you want to follow along my orchid hobby adventure, please consider subscribing to my channel and turn on the notification. Today in this video, we're going to continue to look at my Phalaenopsis mini marks, my 5 Phalaenopsis mini marks, and this is video 2 of the mini mark video series. Last video, I believe we finished around footage or photos taken toward end of February. So this video, we're gonna start with photos and footage from March 2019 and onward. Obviously, when time went on, more flowers opened, more buds opened, and I continued to take more photos to document their progress. Mini marks are just so charming, and they're looking also very dainty and cute. I've never actually thought about having 5 mini marks. It was just coincidental that a seller has it, and I just decided that, you know what, since the price is still pretty good, and because mini mark is somewhat difficult to come by in America, so I mean, my personal opinion is when you can afford something, especially for orchids that are hard to find, if you can afford it, you should always at least get 2. And the reason for that is, in case one of them, you know, is having problem, you at least have another backup that you can continue to take care of and still be okay. Otherwise, you'll be frantic, you'll be in a rush to try to find a replacement, and sometimes it's not easy to find a replacement. Even if you go back to the same seller, they may be sold out, right? So I decided to order more than one, and yeah, I might have gone a little bit overboard, but I'm really happy with all the 5 mini marks that I have. I've got a couple of friends here in Austin that want to buy mini mark from me, and I'm sorry, I just had to say no, right? Because after a while, after taking care of your orchids for a while, you kind of develop this relationship, this special bond with them. In a way, they're kind of like my babies, right? So you don't just sell away your babies. Maybe when I get really bored with orchid hobby in general. Otherwise, you know what? I think, you know, some other orchids may have been sold way before me. I would even consider selling my mini marks. Okay, so coming up, we're gonna see a few photos and maybe another footage to show you how well the first mini mark that opened, how well its root system was doing at the time. And here you have a better close-up pictures to see that the roots were pretty much pretty established within the media. It's a totally good sign, because that way I really don't have to worry about anything, and I know that I'm not gonna overwater this orchid. So because semi-hydra, as long as you keep the water level below, right, below the drainage hole level, and since this orchid has already grown its roots into the reservoir area, this orchid is, the roots in the reservoir is very used to high moisture, high water condition. So in a way, I feel this orchid is just on the autopilot mode. I don't really have to worry about anything other than adding water. I do flush this orchid once a month with just water, with no fertilizer, and I would then, you know, use the outer cup to hold the water and let it soak for, gosh, half an hour, an hour. But otherwise, if I feel lazy, right, I just need to add water up until the drainage hole level and be done with it. So in a way, it helps me conserve a lot of water and can be lazy at the same time. Mini mark also surprised me with the way that it grows its root. Like for this one, for example, Mini Mark is such a small mini orchid, but then its roots can get pretty thick. So it, compared to the leaf size and the overall size of the orchid, I feel the roots are a little bit bigger than I would expect from a tiny orchid like this. But you know what? The bigger the roots, the more the roots, the better for orchids. It does have some aerial roots that's dangling around, but I think it's totally fine because I also like to look at aerial roots, so I personally don't mind them. I did have a Chinese subscriber asking me if it's okay to trim off aerial roots, and of course my answer was no, because if you ever had any root rot problem, aerial roots may be your last resort, last possible method to resurrect or to somehow make this orchid healthy again, right? So aerial roots are really important because if you only have aerial roots left, they may be your last possible resort for you to continue to keep this orchid around for a little longer. And here we're still at the beginning of March, and at the time a lot of the orchids, a lot of the buds had already opened, maybe one or two that's still having one or two buds. So they were all together, so it was quite a show. It was a very busy scenery to see. They were all side by side, so you see lots of whites and then lots of dots and lots of orange lips. It's just very interesting to see. And in the morning, even if I don't see anything else, I look at them, they make me feel really happy. And I think that's part of the orchid growing, is that they make you feel satisfied, content, and have that sense of reward because you've done something right and they responded well to the overall care and the overall environment condition. And overall, I really think that this is a rewarding orchid, and if you somehow can get one or two, you should, because you want to see if you can grow this. And if you can, I think you would also agree with me that this is a very charming orchid to have. And the fragrance, as I promised you in video 1, I want to talk a little bit about the fragrance. You may not agree with me, but that's just how it smelled to me in my environment. So I don't know if you have smelled plum flower before. Plum trees, right? When they bloom, they have that plum flower from plum trees. That's the smell of my mini mark. And then at one point, 2 of them in the afternoon, as the fragrance intensifies, they actually smell like plum wine to me. So it has that citrusy, fruity plum smell with a hint of, I don't know, something more intense. So it smells more like a wine, like plum wine. But in the morning, the smell is just very citrusy, plum/citrusy smell. It's not the kind that's more perfumey. Some orchids have that perfume, really sweet perfume fragrance. Mini Mark doesn't smell like that. It's not the kind that's like piercing fragrance. It's not. It's just very light, very soothing. So it reminds me of the plum flower on plum trees. And here we are, March 10th, 2019. Here is a video clip of the 3 mini marks that have 3 flowers on their spikes this year. 3 of them. So out of the 5 mini marks I have, there are 3 this year that produce 3 flowers. So, and here they are. And one of them, I think the one on the left is the one that's in a bigger container, and then the one in the middle is the one that has bigger container, and then the 2 on the sides are in smaller container. So, you know, container size and how good the root system is, in this case, for my mini marks, doesn't directly correlate to their flower counts, right? So because I have 1 mini mark in bigger container, it still only produced 3 flowers, whereas the other 2 had 4 buds on their spikes, right? One of them was in a smaller container, the other one is in the 16-ounce traditional semi-hydroponic container with drainage holes on the side. So, you know, so it just depends, but overall, I'm happy that all 5 of them bloomed this year, and I do feel that they are becoming more matured, and I'm confident as long as I keep up with the care and fertilizer and flushing, I think they'll be able to produce even stronger flower spikes, longer flower spikes with more buds for the next blooming cycle. And here we're toward mid and end of March 2019, and this is the final video footage I took of all the mini marks, and because I believe this is pretty much the time that all mini marks were in full bloom. There might have been one that had one last bud to open, but that was it. So if you look across later in this video footage, you're gonna see that all of them are just placed side by side, one next to another. So you see this really festive, very busy row of mini marks in full bloom, and it was just a really interesting and rewarding thing to see, to look at. This is all I have for you today. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you would like to get more orchid related videos from my channel, please subscribe and turn on the notification. I want to wish you happy growing, and I will talk to you in my next video. Ciao!